Hello Stampers! Are you ready to get inking today and join me for this project with using this frilly goldfish? We're going to shine some light down on them today. We're going to be using this Seascape stamp set from Stampin Up. It has some great plants and coral and little fishes and some wonderful sentiments in it. And you can bundle it up with the Sea Life dies. Check out these dies. Awesome, right? They're terrific. This pair is just awesome together. So you're going to want to get this bundle and save 10% at the same time. So we're going to get started and we're going to work on our background first. And we're going to start with a piece of basic white cardstock. Cardstock is 3.5 by 5. You can find all the dimensions for this card down below this video. Just click show more under the description and they'll all be listed there along with all the supplies listed with links to it. Let's get started with, let's see, we're going to start with Pool Party, I believe, and a blending brush. I'm going to clean my brush here because I think I had Coastal Cabana on it last. But we're going to start with Pool Party. And we're going to leave a light section up here in the top left corner. So I'm making like a partial circle around that top left corner there. And then let's get some Coastal Cabana out. So we're going to go darker. Use my same blending brush, it's in the same family, right? And I'm going to take off where I left off with that Pool Party, and I'm just going to go into that Pool Party just a bit. Because we want it lightest, then light, then darker. So this is like our medium tone here that we're putting in. And I'm going to go ahead and prime the rest of my paper with this color. It's nice layering colors on top of each other. You get such a better result when you do that. Your project doesn't come out so striped looking. So that was Coastal Cabana. We're going to go to Pacific Point. And I'm going to change blending brushes here to a blue one. And I want a ring of the Coastal Cabana around that Pool Party. I'm just going to hit that top corner a little bit. And then I'm going to come down here and start. I think this color combination is just wonderful. So now I have my light, my Pool Party, my Coastal Cabana, and then my Pacific Point. I'm going to get a little darker at that Pacific Point. Down here where the water's the deepest. So now I'm going to clean my blending brush bit here because I want to go lighter. I'm going to bring in some balmy blue. So I want to make sure my blue brush is pretty clean. And we're going to get a post-it note out for this because we're going to put in our arrays. I'm using a 3 by 5 post-it note. And I'm going to work on this. I'm going to start by putting the corner of the post-it note in the left-hand corner. And I'm directing it towards the bottom right. So when you have the cardstock upright, that's what you look like. But I like to turn it so I can work on it better. So we're going to put some balmy blue. We're going to go along the edge of that paper very lightly. Along the edge of that post-it note. And I'm not going all the way down to the corner because I don't want to risk getting color on this corner and making that shape on my cardstock, so avoid that corner down there. Okay, and then I'm going to move this Post-it note. I'm going to keep it on the corner, and I'm going to move the bottom out. And you can do this as many times as you like to make as many rays as you want. Again, we're doing this lightly. Okay, it doesn't take much to get a bit of color there, and that's all you want is a little bit of color. And you're going to continue doing this. Remember, keep that on the corner there, because that's where our light is coming from. All right, and then we're going to place it back on the corner, and we're going to go the other direction. So I'm just coming out from where we had our lines before. Okay, keeping it on that corner. I kind of just look at the bottom there and come out some. This may be my last one here. And there's our ray of lights coming down. And I think I want to get my Coastal Cabana back out. And we're going to stamp some plants here in the background at the bottom. Stamp one here. Just stamp them along the bottom there. Try to do them at different heights. Looks a little more natural than having them all the same height there. And then we need some bubbles, and I'm going to stamp my bubbles in Pacific Point. Okay. Let that dry just for a second here. And with the bullet tip of a, this is Dark Pool Party Stampin' Blend marker, I'm going to color in the larger bubbles. The lighter ones I'm not going to worry about coloring because we're going to use a white chalk marker on them. And you won't be able to see the color anyway. So just did the bigger ones. I'm going to bring in a white chalk marker. I'm going to make a dot at the top of all the ones I colored. That's our little highlight. It's okay if you cover up like a piece of the outline of the bubble. Okay, and then I'm going to dot inside the small ones. Gives it a more natural look. Okay, so that's kind of light right now. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go back over it, and that will brighten it up some. Right now it's picking up the color from underneath. So we're going to let that dry. And I see I have like a white edge here. I think I'm going to go over that a little bit here just to soften that. There we go. That makes me more happy. So I just had a white edge here where I didn't have a ray, and so I just went ahead and blended that out. So we got our bubbles, we've got our plants in there. So we're going to set this aside, and we're going to work on our goldfish now. And I went ahead and die cut the goldfish out. This is such a great die. When you die cut it, it stays attached to the cardstock in just, I think it's 4 places. And I'm going to go ahead and snip it out. This is pretty easy to do. I just get under the design, give it a snip. It's right above the tail here. Just go to where it's connected. And then it's connected right at the top and bottom of its head. So I want to snip that. And then we have our goldfish all loose. And I have just a scrap of pumpkin pie here. I want some pumpkin pie in the background of it. So I'm going to attach my fish to the pumpkin pie. Add some glue here. Don't have to do the entire every little line on this. I concentrate kind of on the outside lines, and then just a couple of lines on the fins and the tail, just to attach it pretty good. Alright, adhere it to our pumpkin pie. There we go. And then I'm going to just quickly take my paper snips and cut around it. And I want to get really as close as I can to this die as possible. Okay, by the magic of video, there it is all cut out. So I'm going to now take a blending brush and pumpkin pie ink, and I want to make the center of the goldfish really pretty dark with this pumpkin pie. And down into the base of its tail. And I'm leaving the head pretty light. See how that just brightens that up big time. Okay, so there's my pumpkin pie on there. And now I want to use a, this is the light basic black Stampin' Blend marker. I'm going to use the bullet point, and I'm going to color the eye in. There we go. Give it a black eye. That doesn't sound right, does it? That sounds pretty mean. So we're going to now add, I want to get all this white in here just to make it look really frilly. And for the front fins, I'm just going on the ribs of the die with this chalk marker. Gives such detail to it. And there's a fin here too, don't forget this one. Okay, and for the tail, I'm going to do all the ribs on the top die. And then I want to get a little darker with the white. I want it to appear like there's more white on the tail. So I'm going to go inside the ribs here in a minute. And this is your fish. That's what's so great about stamping. It's your fish. You color it any way you want to. So I'm going to add some white inside of the ribs here at the base of the tail. There we go. So now our fish is all frilly and it's ready to go on our panel. So I'm going to start putting our panel together. I think I'm going to get rid of my inky paper, flip it over here. After all that work, we don't want to get some weird color on our fish, do we? So we're going to have our fish about here, I believe. So let's start assembling our card. I'm going to attach this main panel to a basic white panel that's just 1/8 inch larger than our main image panel. I call it a weenie layer because it only shows just a weenie little bit. But it makes it stand out against our main image panel here. So we're going to adhere this to our card front. Card front is Coastal Cabana, and it's 5.5 by 8.5 and then folded in half. And I'm going to put this panel here, this main image panel, on the card front, and I'm going to have it over to the right a bit. So it's shifted over there. And then we're going to pop our fish up on here, and I'm going to use Stampin' Dimensionals for that. I'm going to need just some small Stampin' Dimensionals. So on the edge of these, my Stampin' Dimensionals, there's some smaller half dimensionals, so I cut them in between each one. That way I can use some of these smaller pieces for the small places, like on the fin there. Really helps to use some of your more dimensionals up, right? I like to use a lot of dimensionals. I don't like my I don't want my little fish to cave in anywhere. Alright, by magic I have all my dimensional dots off. We want to tilt it up, like, oh, it's trying to reach the sun there. Right? There we go. And that makes sense of our bubbles now. And then I die cut a piece of coral out of that same die set. It's this piece here. But I want to cut a piece of this off. And I think I'm going to cut this piece here. Just separate that off, and that way I have two pieces of coral. It's easier to work with. I'm going to put one here on the left side. Just glue it in, and it's coming off that main image panel onto our card base. I like that. It really ties your card base in, doesn't it, when you do that? Have something part on, part off. There we go. And then I don't want to forget this other little piece. So I'm going to put some glue on it. I'm going to stack it a little bit. Over that other piece of coral and under our fish a bit. go. So there's our card for today. And inside I just quickly put a Mango Melody panel in there and a basic white panel. That's just to tie in that goldfish from the outside. And I love how this just pops against that coastal cabana and Pacific Point. So there's our project for today. I hope this inspires you to get inky and that you get your stamps and ink out and make you some fun cards. Thanks for joining me. Bye.